Welcome back to Deep Dive English. Today we are learning why willpower is a lie and how to actually change your life.
And that sounds like a big sensationalist claim, but it's really more of a scientific conclusion. It's based on some really practical research, especially from our source, the science of habits. Forget motivation, build systems. We're really trying to move away from like the inspirational posters and into the actual world of, let's call it behavioral engineering.
Absolutely. And here's the crucial hook question for you, for everyone listening right now.
Yeah.
Do you start new habits? Maybe it's running or writing or waking up early. Maybe it's learning a new skill. And then you just find yourself burning out and quitting after, what, a week? 2 weeks?
I've all been there.
We are going to explain the fundamental science of why that happens, and more importantly, how to stop it. For good.
Well, the common story we tell ourselves, right, is that it's a lack of discipline or grit.
Oh, yeah. I just don't have enough willpower.
Exactly. You internalize that failure and you think, I'm just not a motivated person. But what our analysis shows really is that this entire way of thinking is it's fundamentally flawed. That amazing burst of motivation you feel on day one.
At New Year's energy.
That's it. It's an unstable internal state. And the science shows it fades, predictably.
So we need to stop seeing this as some kind of character flaw.
Right.
And that's the core conflict, the big revelation from the source material. Failure to change is not a personal defect. It's not a motivation defect.
Precisely. It is, and this is the key term from our reading, a system problem.
A system problem.
The second you stop relying on these, exhausting and unstable internal states like motivation or willpower, and you shift your energy to designing reliable external systems, everything changes.
So the whole process moves from feeling impossible to, well, almost inevitable.
That's the goal.
Okay, so let's unpack this and set our mission for this deep dive. Our goal is to give you, the learner, the tools to completely overhaul how you approach self-improvement. We're going to debunk the myth of willpower using some real psychology. We're going to dissect the neurology of the four-step habit loop.
We're going to reveal the huge, often misunderstood power of what's called the identity shift for long-term commitment.
And then we get practical. We'll show you exactly how to use environment design and, my favorite part, the strategic use of friction to make success the path of least resistance.
It really is all about making the right choice the easy choice every single time. And to start, we have to tackle the one concept that trips up almost everyone.
Willpower.
Willpower.
So when someone decides they want to make a big change in their life, let's say they want to start a side business or finally quit sugar, the first thing they think is, I need more discipline.
More grit.
Yeah, that success requires this immense constant internal strength. We see this in the sources with the example of Leo, who wanted to start writing every day.
And he quit almost immediately because he felt he lacked willpower. And that story, that narrative, it's not just common, it's like baked into our culture, but it's scientifically just not accurate. It's actually dangerously misleading.
So what's the science say?
Our sources are really clear on this. We have to stop seeing willpower as some kind of infinite moral virtue and see it for what it is scientifically.
Which is?
A finite resource.
Okay, the famous battery analogy. Let's expand on this because I think a lot of people have heard it, but they don't really grasp how quickly that battery drains.
No, true.
We're talking about ego depletion, right? Decision fatigue.
Exactly that. So imagine you wake up and your cognitive resource, your willpower battery, is fully charged. That resource is housed mostly in your prefrontal cortex.
The smart, rational part of the brain?
The most advanced, but also the most energy-hungry part of your brain. It's responsible for all the hard stuff, complex decisions, regulating your emotions, impulse control.
So when I'm trying to, save my willpower for the big challenge later, like not eating that late-night snack or making a tough phone call.
You're forgetting something crucial.
What's that?
You've already been using it all day. Yeah. Every tiny decision draws power from that same battery.
Like deciding what to wear.
Deciding what to wear, navigating traffic, resisting the urge to check that notification on your phone, trying to filter through 100 work emails.
Wow.
All of those little things are depleting that one finite resource. And research is very clear that things like stress or not getting enough sleep or low blood sugar, they accelerate that depletion massively.
So by 5 p.m., when I'm tired, I'm stressed from work, I'm a little hungry, that battery is basically blinking on empty.
It's approaching zero.
And that's why the old habit wins, the comfortable, easy habit. It's not because I'm suddenly a weak person.
It's because the fuel required to choose the difficult new path, that willpower, is gone. It has run out.
And that's really the tragedy of relying on it, isn't it? You're asking yourself to do the hardest work to resist temptation at the exact moment you are at your weakest.
It's a setup for failure. When fatigue and stress kick in, the brain just defaults to conserve energy. It takes the path of least cognitive resistance every time.
This is where that critical shift in thinking comes in. As the source material says so clearly, you do not have a motivation problem. You have a
System problem.
system problem.
This is the core idea we really want you to take away. If you build your success around a feeling, like being motivated, you are going to fail because feelings come and go.
They're completely unreliable.
Wildly unreliable. But a system, on the other hand, is a design structure. It's something you build to make sure the desired action happens automatically, no matter how you're feeling.
So it's independent of my energy level or my mood.
Totally. The system relies on things you can control, like predictable cues and reduced resistance, not on things you can't, like your emotional state.
But doesn't building a system like that feel a bit, I don't know, restrictive? Like it removes all the spontaneity from life.
It feels like the opposite, actually. Good systems create freedom. They automate the low-value decisions so you have more mental energy for the things that matter, like creativity. The goal of a system is to move the work of the action from that energy-guzzling prefrontal cortex, the willpower center, to the basal ganglia.
Which is the brain's.
The brain's primitive, super energy-efficient habit center. The system does the heavy lifting so your conscious mind doesn't have to.
So if I want to run in the morning, and my running shoes are right by the door, and my playlist is already queued up,
A system has done its job.
it's removed the series of small decisions. Should I run? Where are my shoes? What music will I listen to? All that's gone.
Exactly. The action becomes a simple response, not a complex choice you have to make with a depleted battery. The solution is to stop depending on feelings and start installing these reliable external mechanisms.
You're shifting the point of failure away from your unstable willpower to something you can actually control, the design of your environment.
You're leveraging the brain's fundamental desire for efficiency and repetition. You're working with your brain, not against it.
Okay, so now that we've accepted we need systems, we need to look under the hood. What's the actual psychological engine that makes these systems run? And this brings us to the fundamental framework for all behavior, the habit loop.
Understanding this loop is, it's non-negotiable if you're serious about change. It shows you exactly where the leverage points are.
Right, where you can intervene to build a good habit or dismantle a bad one.
Because behavior isn't random. It follows this predictable 4-step sequence in your brain.
Let's break down the components of that loop. It has to start somewhere. So step one is the cue.
The cue. This is the trigger. It's the signal from your environment or an emotion or the time of day that tells your brain, okay, run the program now.
And these cues can be anything, right? A location, like walking into the kitchen.
Or a time like 5 p.m. Or an emotional state like feeling bored or stressed. It can be other people or even an action you just finished.
Okay, so the cue happens. What's next? Step two. Craving.
And this is the motivational core of the whole thing. But what's crucial to understand is that the craving isn't for the habit itself.
What is it for?
It's the anticipation of the reward.
Ah, okay.
So if the cue is your phone buzzing with a notification, the craving isn't to look at your phone. It's the desire for that hit of connection or curiosity.
And this is where dopamine comes in.
Exactly. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical, as many people think. It's the anticipation chemical. It's what drives you to seek.
That's a huge distinction.
Yeah.
So the craving phase is really my brain saying, hey, if you do this next thing, you're going to get a reward. You're going to feel good.
Precisely. It's the neurological bridge that connects the trigger to the action. It determines how badly you want to act.
Which brings us to step three, the response.
This is the actual behavior, the thing you do. It's running the mile, writing the sentence, or picking up your phone to scroll. And for a habit to stick, this response has to be easy, which, we'll get back to when we talk about friction.
Right. And then finally, the loop closes with step four, the reward.
This is the satisfying outcome. And it does two things. First, it provides satisfaction, that immediate pleasure or relief. But second, and more importantly, it reinforces the loop.
It's the signal to the brain that says,
hey, that whole sequence, it worked. Remember it. Do it again next time you see that cue. The better the reward feels, the faster that habit gets hardwired.
So the big takeaway here is that if you want to change your behavior, you have to strategically hack this loop at each stage. For a bad habit, you want to make the cue invisible and the response difficult. For a good habit, you want to make the cue obvious and the response ridiculously easy.
And this is so important. You have to focus intensely on that reward stage, especially for new habits. This is where the whole problem of delayed gratification comes in.
Right. Most good habits have rewards that are way off in the future.
Exactly.
If I go for a run today, the immediate reward is being sweaty, tired, and sore. The real benefit, better health, looking good, that's weeks, maybe months away.
And your primitive brain could not care less about a reward that's 300 days from now. It is programmed, hardwired, to value immediate gratification over everything else.
So what's the hack?
You have to engineer an immediate small reward that gives your brain instant satisfaction right after you do the hard thing.
Give me some concrete examples of that. What's instant satisfaction engineering?
Think small but immediate. Let's say you're trying to build the habit of tracking your expenses, which is, a pretty dry, difficult habit.
Sure.
Maybe you create a rule where you're only allowed to listen to your favorite new album while you're doing the tracking. Or if you're trying to meditate for 5 minutes, the immediate reward could be 1 square of really high-quality dark chocolate that you place right next to your mat.
So the point of the chocolate isn't the health benefit of dark chocolate.
Not at all. The point is the neurological signal. It tells your basal ganglia, that thing you just did, the meditating, that was worthwhile. Let's repeat this sequence.
It short-circuits the brain's natural preference for doing the easy thing. That immediate satisfying reward is what fuels the repetition.
And repetition is the only thing that builds an automatic habit.
So we've covered the problem with willpower, and we've laid out the mechanics of the habit loop. But here's the challenge I think everyone faces.
Okay.
We've all had that initial success, right? The new system works for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, and then slowly you just drift back to the old way of doing things.
The dreaded relapse.
How do we make it stick? What's the secret to change that lasts for years, not just for a few months?
This brings us to what might be the most important concept in the whole discussion. It's our mandatory key concept too, the identity shift.
An identity shift.
This isn't just some motivational trick. It's the absolute core of sustainable long-term change. If you want a habit to truly last, you have to stop focusing on what you want to achieve and start focusing on who you want to become.
Let's drill down on that. The research talks about 3 layers of change. Most people start at the top, the outermost layer, which is outcome.
Right. The outcome layer is all about results. Run a marathon, publish a book, lose 20 pounds.
They're goals.
They're goals, and they're finite. They have a finish line, and that creates a problem. Once you achieve the goal, the reason for doing the behavior just disappears.
Okay, so the next layer in is process.
The process layer is about your systems and your actions. Things like implement a daily writing schedule or follow a specific diet plan or run 3 times a week. This is where a lot of habit advice stops. And it's better than focusing on outcomes, but
But it can still feel like a chore,
it can still feel like a chore if it's not connected to the deepest layer.
which is the identity layer.
Exactly. This is the deepest layer. It deals with your beliefs about yourself.
Mhm.
The change is internal. The question isn't, what results do I want anymore?
The question becomes,
Who do I want to be? The goal isn't just to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner.
that is a profound pivot in thinking. It means the purpose of the action itself completely changes. So running 3 days in a row is no longer just about checking a box on my to-do list.
It's about collecting evidence. Tangible, undeniable evidence that you are the type of person who runs.
And this is where that amazing metaphor comes in. Casting votes for the new self.
Every small action you take is a vote you cast for the kind of person you want to be.
So if I want to be a more mindful person and I meditate for just 60 seconds,
You just cast a vote for, I am a mindful person.
and if I skip my workout,
You cast a vote for the opposite, and over time, it's the cumulative weight of these tiny little votes that solidifies your new identity.
so the goal isn't perfection, which is what usually trips people up, that all or nothing thinking.
Right. The goal is just to win the majority of the votes. If you miss a day, you haven't failed. You haven't ruined your new identity. You just cast one vote in the other direction. You can get right back to it tomorrow and start casting good votes again.
That approach just removes all the destructive guilt that usually leads people to quit completely.
It does.
But what about cognitive dissonance? I mean, if I've been a heavy smoker for 20 years and I start telling myself, I am not a smoker, doesn't my brain just call BS on that? Doesn't it feel like a lie?
That is the essential hurdle, you're right. And the key is that the new identity must be supported by action, no matter how small.
Right.
You have to start acting like a non-smoker, even in tiny ways. Refuse to stand in the smoking area at work. Throw out your lighters. You're forcing a positive contradiction. Your brain is now getting evidence that conflicts with its old story about you.
And eventually, the internal story has to change to match the external evidence I'm living it.
It has to align, and that's where language becomes so powerful. The source gives this amazing example. Don't say, I'm trying to quit smoking.
Instead, you adopt the identity, you say.
I am not a smoker.
The language reflects a totally different level of commitment.
I'm trying to quit implies that failure is still an option. It implies the old identity is still lurking. But when someone offers you a cigarette and you say, no thanks, I don't smoke,
That's a statement of fact about who you are.
it's a powerful boundary. It requires zero willpower in that moment because the real decision was already made days or weeks ago at the identity level.
So you're shifting from relying on your exhausted willpower in the moment of temptation to relying on a solid sense of self that just dictates your actions automatically.
And that's what makes it last. The system is now serving a continuous belief about who you are, not just a finite goal you're trying to reach.
Okay, so with our identity as the foundation and the habit loop as the engine, we can get back to the mechanics. How do we make the day-to-day action, the response, incredibly easy? This is where we need to talk about that idea of sustainable incremental growth. And that is perfectly captured by the 1% rule.
The 1% rule is really the math behind great system design. The whole idea is that improving by just 1% every day leads to these massive compounding gains over a year.
It reframes progress. It's not about one heroic effort. It's about relentless consistency.
The numbers are they're staggering when you look at them. If you get 1% better each day for a year, you end up 37 times better.
37 times better.
But if you get 1% worse each day, you decline basically down to zero. It just proves that these tiny decisions matter immensely over time.
So how does this connect back to our system?
Well, in two ways. First, it supports the identity shift, right?
Uh-huh.
Small, consistent actions are better evidence than one big, inconsistent action. But second, and this is critical, it dramatically lowers the demand on your limited willpower.
Because it makes the response step of the habit loop so tiny that it requires almost no effort.
Exactly. If your big goal is to write a 300-page book, a daily goal of write for 3 hours is going to require maximum willpower, especially on a tired Tuesday.
Sure.
But the 1% response is just write one sentence.
Anyone can write one sentence.
Anyone can write one sentence. It requires basically zero willpower. You're forming the habit of showing up without draining your battery. And once you've built that momentum of just showing up, expanding the action becomes so much easier.
So getting started is everything. And this brings us directly to our environment. We have to stop relying on our internal state and start relying on our external cues.
Which leads us straight to mandatory key concept 3, environment design.
Okay.
Your behavior is triggered by your environment. Your physical space is like the silent architect of your daily actions. If you just passively accept the space you're in, you're accepting a system that was built around your old habits.
So you have to be proactive. You have to design it.
It's essential.
Okay, let's break down the two big strategies for this. First up, strategy A, making good habits easy, or decreasing friction.
The goal here is just radical visibility and accessibility. You have to eliminate all those tiny little points of friction that stop you from starting. You're setting up your environment so that the good choice is the default choice, the easy choice.
So if the cue happens, let's say I walk into the kitchen, the desired response should be right there, easy to do. The example from the source is so simple but so powerful. If you want to eat more fruit,
Put it on the table.
don't hide it in the crisper drawer in the fridge.
Exactly. The crisper drawer is a high-friction, low-visibility location. The fruit on the table is an immediate visual cue. The friction to grab it is basically zero. Same idea if you want to run in the morning. Put your running shoes and your workout clothes by the bed the night before.
So the moment my feet hit the floor, that's the cue. The shoes are the next visual trigger. The only friction left is actually tying the laces.
You've eliminated that whole multi-step process of where are my shorts, where are my socks, which is usually where the whole plan falls apart.
Right. Now, what about the other side of this? Let's flip it. Strategy B, making bad habits invisible. Removing the cues.
This is often way more effective than trying to resist a craving once it's started. If the trigger isn't there in the first place, the craving doesn't get activated.
So the whole loop never even begins.
The goal is to make that bad habit invisible, physically and digitally.
The example from the source is perfect for our modern lives. If you want to stop scrolling on your phone so much,
The environment has to help you. You have to hide the phone.
Because if it's just sitting on your desk, it's a constant visual cue.
It's a constant cue, which leads to that low friction response of just picking it up. But if it's in another room or in a drawer, that visual cue is gone. You're not fighting the urge anymore because the urge was never triggered.
This applies so much to food, too. If I buy the giant bag of chips at the store, I'm basically designing an environment that is constantly cueing me to eat chips. But if I just don't buy them in the first place, I don't need any willpower at 9 p.m. to resist them.
Exactly. We've already established that relying on willpower to resist a cue you can see is a battle you are going to lose eventually. It's a 100% loss rate over time. But making the cue invisible, that's a permanent system-level solution.
So if the cookie jar is on the counter, I have to use willpower to say no 50 times a day.
But if you put that cookie jar in the basement, you only need willpower once. The moment you decide whether or not to walk down to the basement, the system protects your battery.
Which brings us to our final, and maybe the most practical, actionable part of this whole thing, the strategic use of friction.
Yes.
We've touched on it, making things easy or invisible. But let's get into the real hands-on strategies for actively stopping bad habits.
Okay, so let's define friction clearly. It's just the amount of effort or resistance required to do something. And a successful system is all about manipulating that resistance with, engineering precision.
For the good habits, we want to aggressively decrease friction. We put the gym clothes out, we prep the coffee machine, we automate our savings. We want the good habit to be the absolute path of least resistance.
We want the barrier to entry to be as close to zero as possible. And that includes digital friction, too. If you want to study vocabulary, don't make yourself click through 5 folders to find the app.
Right.
You create a single big shortcut on your desktop that opens it directly. You eliminate those 3 or 4 seconds of friction that could derail you.
But the real magic, the real freedom, comes from the other side of the coin. Increasing friction for undesired habits. The stop strategy.
This is how you reclaim your attention and stop those unwanted automatic behaviors. It's a brilliant move because it gives your rational brain, your prefrontal cortex, a window of opportunity to jump in and stop the automated loop.
It's like putting a psychological speed bump in the road.
Exactly. You're transforming a mindless, instantaneous action into a deliberate, multi-step process.
And when the effort it takes to satisfy the craving is greater than the craving itself,
the action just dies. The automated response needs to be efficient. If you slow it down, you kill it.
The source material gave us such a perfect, vivid example for this. If watching too much TV is the problem, the advice is to take the batteries out of the remote.
Just think about the difference in effort. Zero friction TV is reach, click, you're done. High friction TV is you have to get up, walk over to the drawer, find the batteries, put them in the remote, and then sit back down. That tiny little chore is often enough to just stop the whole process 90% of the time.
Because in that moment, you're forced to think, is this really worth it? Is this hour of mindless TV worth the effort of assembling the remote?
That pause is everything. That's where your new identity-driven self can take over from the old automatic response.
So how can we apply this to other areas, like our finances or our digital lives?
For finances, if you struggle with impulse shopping online, you have to increase the financial friction.
What does that look like?
Delete your saved credit card information from all your shopping sites. The friction of having to physically get up, find your wallet, and manually type in that 16-digit number and the CVV, that provides the crucial pause you need to ask, do I really need this? And abort the purchase.
That's a fantastic high-leverage move. Okay, what about tech distractions? They're probably the hardest habits to break for most people today.
You have to use the technology against itself. If social media is the problem, don't just hide the app in a folder, delete it.
Delete it completely.
Yes. And only access it through your web browser, where you force yourself to log in with your password every single time. Even better, install software like Freedom that literally locks you out of certain sites for times you schedule in advance. You're using friction to enforce your own best intentions.
So you're intentionally making the default easy choice, the one that's actually the most difficult to do. You're building a barrier system that relies on inconvenience, not on discipline.
Exactly. When you're tired, you're going to do the easiest thing. By using strategic friction, you make sure that the bad habit requires high effort, so you naturally steer yourself toward the low-effort, productive habits you already designed.
It's amazing how often the solution to what feels like this huge personal moral failing is actually just taking a battery out of a plastic rectangle.
It removes the moral struggle from the equation. It replaces an emotional struggle with a simple mechanical reality.
Okay, so to synthesize this whole deep dive,
Yeah,
we've established pretty definitively that relying on willpower is a flawed strategy. It's a finite resource. It runs out.
right. And instead of willpower, success comes from designing effective systems. And those systems are built on 3 core pillars. First, you have to understand and manipulate the 4 stages of the habit loop queue: craving, response, and reward.
And make sure you're engineering immediate rewards to reinforce the good habits. Second, you have to secure that long-term stickiness through the identity shift.
Moving beyond just goals and outcomes to casting votes for the person you want to become.
And third, the practical boots-on-the-ground part. Using environment design to decrease friction for good habits, and, maybe most powerfully, using increased friction to make bad habits a pain to get started.
It gives your rational mind that critical window of time to step in and make the right choice.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, right now, today? We will leave you with one final provocative thought.
Okay.
Audit your life right now. Just look around. Look at your desk, your phone's home screen, the path you walk when you get home from work. If every action you take is a vote for your future identity, what evidence are your current systems producing?
Are they casting votes for "I am a distracted procrastinator" or for "I am a focused creator"?
And the challenge is simple. Don't try to overhaul your entire life today. Just focus on the 1% rule.
What single piece of friction, good or bad, can you adjust by just 1% right now? Can you delete one shopping app from your phone? Can you put one apple on the counter? Or can you take the batteries out of the device that wastes most of your time?
Do that one thing. Cast one vote for a better system. Because success is not an act of will.
It's an act of design. Design your life deliberately.
A perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into behavioral science and the path to becoming a better you. We'll see you next time.